Hi all, Plantside Agent. Today I'm going to talk about a tin can wood stove that also pairs nicely with a Stanley cook pot. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. To begin with, I got this idea for this wood stove from James at Waypoint Survival. He does a lot of kind of home-built DIY survival items, stoves, candle lanterns, all sorts of things. And I've built several of his things he showed on his channel, and I'd highly recommend you take a look at his channel. I will put a link to the video where he made this stove in the description, and also I'll go ahead and put links of the videos I made from my versions of some of his other things. So anyway, what I'm going to do is going to do this in two parts. The first part, I'll basically explain this stove and how it works and some enhancements that I made to it. And in the second part, I'll go ahead and give you some descriptions and sizes of how I built this so you can build your own. You won't have to get out and measure it all yourself like I did. So let's see, to get started with the main burn chamber. Make sure I'm staying in frame here. Yep. I have to keep peeking around the corner at the back side of my phone to make sure that I'm staying in frame. Anyway, the main burn chamber is made from a 31 ounce can. This can refried beans or tomatoes, all sorts of things. It's standard size. Okay, that's the burn chamber. And let's see, we've got and you've got in it, you cut out a feed hole, and on the back you put in vent holes. Now what Waypoint Survival did, he kind of does, a lot of his stuff is done, you know, just kind of using rudimentary stuff. It's like you kind of do in the field, or just maybe whatever you have in a survival situation. Anyway, he used a church key to put out the holes, which is fine, but I have the tools, so I just had and just make a more refined stove for myself. So that's what he did. So like I say, that's the burn chamber. Now the Trivets or pot stand is made from plumber's tape. I don't know, you can get this at the hardware store. I have some around for some projects I've used it for. So that's what the Trivets are made out of. And you just have to, of course, smooth and sand them down because the corners are sharp. But then you just cut some notches in them where the holes already are. And then you have three up in this case, and two up and one down, so that you can make your cross section. So what you can do is just put that one in there, and this one in there. It fits nice and stable. And then you can put your cook pot on top, and there you go. Don't do that. Pay attention to what you're doing. So anyway, no, it's good and stable. I just whacked it with my hand. So anyway, and I did a burn test on it, and it works pretty good. And so does Waypoint. James also shows a good burn test using wood. So I probably won't do any burn tests on this. So that's the basic stove. So I thought, well, I got this basic stove. Why don't I just enhance it a little bit? So what I decided to do was fix it up so I could use a alcohol burner. So what I did was I put some slots in the can. You can see those well. 4 slots, so that, and I made some more Trivets that you could use to put the alcohol stove on, say a Trangia or an A-Lox or one of the many Trangia type knockoffs that are out there. So then all you have to do is slide these smaller Trivets in there like this. Oops, okay, I'm in there. And then get your Trangia stove, which I measured everything out so that it would fit, so it'd catch the ears on this Trangia stove. That fits down in there, just like that. And oops, then you can just put your pot stand back on like that. There you go. Now you can use it as an alcohol burner. So that was the next enhancement I made. And I got to thinking, well, I wonder if we could use other burners, say solid fuel, asbet, hexamine, or different types of alcohol burners. In this case, like this little round tin one. I just saw a video recently. The guy's from Sweden. They call this a Kojin stove. So I kind of like that name. I'll have to look it up. Probably means round tin stone in Swedish, but anyway, something like this or solid fuel. So what I did was I just cut the bottom out of this steel can. I think pineapple or something came in it, but any can would do. So I just cut that out. I used my can opener and did it sideways to cut that out. It's a nice little flat piece with no sharp edges. You will have to sand these down so don't cut yourself. So anyway, this will fit inside the nicely. Well, you don't jiggle it around. It'll fit nicely inside. I don't know why I'm having trouble with this today. Anyway, it'll fit nicely inside. And then you can put your small alcohol burner or an asbet, anything like that in there. So you have another alternative to for fuel. Okay, that was the other enhancement. So, and while I was on the thinking of enhancements, if you wanted to save, cut down on the amount of work that you have to do, is just make the main combustion chamber for a pot stand. You could get one of these computer fan grates, and you could probably, if you find an old computer somewhere, you could just probably take it off of it. I think this one is this one's about 3.5 inches, or looks like about 87 millimeter fan. And this will work perfect if you set this down on here. It doesn't slide around. I don't know why this lid keeps falling down. Anyway, and then it'll fit on there just perfect. So that's another alternative if you don't want to mess with it. Of course, the only thing is this, it won't nest inside when you secure it, but it'll work. So when you're all said and done, you can just pull these small trivets out. You can take your Stanley stove or cook pot. Come on. That'll fit inside here. And then you just slide your trivets in on the side. And there you go. You got yourself a nice compact cook set. It's very inexpensive. So let's see. Let me double check my notes here real quick on the description of the phone. Smaller alternative pot stand. Yep. Oh, just for your own information. And by the way, I'll post any times or dimensions in the description section. I did a burn test, and with the Trangia in this stove with 2 quarts of or 16 ounces, 2 cups of 51 degree water. That'd be 473 milliliters, and at 10 degrees, 10.5 centigrade. But anyway, on a burn test, and that brought the water to a boil in 8 minutes and 36 seconds. And then I went ahead and did a burn test with this little Kojin stove, and it took a little bit longer. It took 10 minutes and 25 seconds to boil 2 cups of water, so they do work. I didn't do esbet. I really don't like esbet, but some people do. I don't get it. But anyway, so that's it for the basic description of this thing. So if you're interested to see how I built this and what I use for it, just stay tuned. If not, we'll see you on the next video. Okay, let's get started on how I built this. for starters, what you're going to need is a 31 ounce tin can, of course. You'll need some plumber's tape. Like I said previously, you can get this at hardware stores. And yeah, be careful when you're handling it. It does have sharp edges. It makes me nervous. This is sort of stuff that it's kind of like a paper cut. You know, you can slice yourself without even knowing it. Okay, then of course you need a pencil or marking pen. I guess you don't need a pencil. Yeah, you do. I used to drill the holes. I used one of these step bits, but you can use whatever you want. I used a Dremel cutoff wheel to cut out the slots and the feed chamber. You'll need some emery paper to sand the rough edges of the stove down. Need some sort of tin snips or cutters to cut the trivets. Actually, James punched a hole with a nail in his, and then he used some really thin ones and actually manually cut these out with tin snips. But I like using the cutoff wheels because it's a little bit cleaner, noisier but cleaner. And you'll need a square or a ruler of some sort so you can get the lines if you're gonna for the stove, which you probably don't need just for the basic stove, but if you want to put in the slots for the alcohol stoves, it's a good idea to have this so that you can get the right distance so that the stove will fit. Your alcohol stove will fit inside. So I think that's about all you need. Oh, you might get some cardboard from somewhere because it's nice to have a template that I use to make the slots for the alcohol stove. So just for starters, the vent holes, like I said, I use a step drill, and I just went down to the 5/8 side, or 15 millimeters, and they're about 3/8 of an inch apart. You can just eyeball those. For the feed chamber, that's it's 1 inch, 1 5/8 inch, or 42 millimeters, and wide it's 2.5 or 62 millimeters, and that's around the circumference of the can, not straight across. Of course, for the feed chamber, it doesn't really matter. It can be pretty flexible because you just make it big enough you can put your wood and twigs inside. I do go up a little ways on it, usually just to where usually the reinforcing ribs are, just so that, same with the hole here up, so that stuff doesn't spill out as easily, especially if you're going to use wood pellets, although they will spill out this hole. But anyway, that's the feed hole. Now that's the basics. That's the basic wood stove, which is not much to it. Now if you want to add the slots for the alcohol burner, it's a little trickier. Now the slots, the thickness of the plumber's tape is 11/16, so just shy of 3/4. So you'll want to probably make your hole 3/4 so that they slide in easier. Mine are actually more than that, but it doesn't matter. So and the holes, so the slot's got to be around 11/16 or 3/4, and you'll need the bottom of the slot where the trivet will fit needs to be 2 inches from the top of the can to the bottom of the slot, and that's so that you can get your basically 1 to 1.5 inch sweet spot for alcohol burners. Okay, and let's see the spacing. You'll need a Trangia or the A-locks. They're where's my numbers here? They're 2 and 5/8 inches, or 69 millimeters for this. So that's the distance you're going to need for the spacing for the trivets slots. So what I did for that was I just traced out the Trangia on a piece of cardboard, and then I just used straight lines, made straight lines to make a square or a rectangle. See, then what you can do is you can put this on the top of the can, and hold it down, and then you can take your marker and just make a tick mark on each edge. I am staying in frame. On each edge of the can. Okay, that'll give you your spacing. Then you can just carry those tick marks down onto the lip here if you want. Where'd he go? Oh, I didn't let him dry. I wiped him off, but yeah, so and then what you can do is take your square. I used a square, that way they come straight down. You can do whatever it takes. Okay, so then you just put your square on your tick mark. Oops. Okay. I don't know why I keep doing that. On the tick mark, then you can just draw your line down the can, and then find your other tick mark. The other 3 tick marks, do the same thing. Just all the way down. Okay, now you have your spacing. Next, all you need to do is come down from the top 2 inches. So you want to come down from the top of the can 2 inches. Let me get in here like this. There we go. Come in top of the can, you're 2 inches, and make a mark. And then you could probably, since it's probably going to come out somewhere around one of these ribs, and you can just follow the rib all the way around the can, and then you have your 2-inch mark. Then all you got to do is come below your mark, add your 3/4 inch from the bottom up, and just make another mark and draw that around. So now you've got your dimensions and your lines for your slot. Then you can just get in there with your, well, I did a cutoff wheel, Dremel cutoff wheel. Just got in there and cut these out. And you might have to kind of grind around a little bit and widen them out so that your trivets will fit securely. Okay, I think that will pretty much get all your slots and cutouts. Oh, for this one too, all you got to do is just measure up your inch and 5/8 up from the bottom ring of the can, like I say, and then draw your line across. And for the width, just you could either just get a piece of tape, get a piece of tape, measure that out, tape it on and mark it, or just kind of eyeball it. It just has to be close. Now the one thing you got to be careful, you don't want to go too high here if you're going to put the alcohol trivets in, or these too low, because you can see there's not a lot of room can left between the top of the feeder slot and the bottom of the trivet slot. So you don't want to get that too close, or it's going to be weak and come apart on you. And it's going to be close to the opening of the feeder hole, and there's not much you can do about it. You really can't put them anywhere that's good on this. So, but even so, I don't have a lot of room between these two, about maybe a little over 1/8 of an inch or so. It's still pretty snug. I don't think we're going to have any problems with it. So, just something to think about. That's the burn chamber all done up. Now for the trivets, that's pretty straightforward too. The length on these trivets, the pot stand trivets are, where are we at? 5.5 inches or 140 millimeters. And for the alcohol burn trivets, I made them 3 3/4. You could make them a little bit longer. I probably should. That way they stick out a little bit further, so you don't have to worry about them bumping and dropping out. But somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 3/4 or 95 millimeters. Okay, and once you take them off, once you cut them off, you'll probably, as you can see, this one's all wavy. I just took a hammer on the back end of my vise and just pounded them out flat, or any place that you can, solid that you can pound out, to pound them out flat. And then what you're also going to want to do is you'll use your snips to cut out a notch, and for that you'll want to measure it to make sure you get the right one. These just happen to work out pretty close on this particular brand around the diameter of the can. So you just have to cut out a notch and they'll fit right in. There you go. So you'll just cut a notch for this one, and then one right in the center. Now remember, for one of them you'll cut the bottom, and then so that the cross piece will fit. On the next one you'll cut the two out of the bottom and then one out of the top. Okay, once you get everything all cut out, you'll want to maybe just clip the corners off of these, and then I just used a grinder to round them off, and then I just used files or emery paper to get rid of the rough edges, the sharp edges, and then I just ground these around. So now I don't have to worry about butchering myself. These guys, same thing. All you got to do on this one is just round them off so that they're smooth and they'll slide in here easier, and sand them down again so they're not sharp. Oh yeah, and also after you've cut out your burn chamber, you'll want to go in there and same thing with some emery paper to knock off the sharp edges, because you don't want to cut yourself. Let's see, where are we at? I think that's it on the build. There's really not too much to it. Like I said, I'll put all the dimensions in the description so you can just take them right off of that to make your own. Like I say, it's really pretty straightforward, cheap, kind of fun. Like I say, when you're all done, you can just drop this in here and drop in your trivets, and there you go. It's all set. So I hope that's everything. Didn't forget anything. I actually took notes, but you got to read the notes or and pay attention to them more to be effective. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.